is down, but they're looking for the killer blow. That's it, back of the end zone. Dagger! He's looking. Jamil's coming. He's moving. He's got him. He's got him. It was caught, but Jed has called the sack. Incomplete. He called the sack. It's 2 points to the Hammerhead. An unbelievable sack there by Jamil. This is the last game of the day. It's caught and it's in. It's a touchdown.
That's it.
It's a touchdown. The last play of the game. The clock is at zeros. That's it. Your Swansea Hammerheads are advancing to the Division 1 final, having knocked off the 2 seed and having knocked off the 1 seed. Alan Young, you look absolutely stunned.
What do you mean by live? Genuine live?
Yes. We're broadcasting.
Hello, radio!
And now, a new episode of The Way We HNC It. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Way We HNC It, your home of flag football here in the United Kingdom. And we now have some brand new national champions across the divisions, across youth, across the Premiership, and across Division 1. It has been a hot minute since I have been joined by my good friend and colleague Tree, but he is back in the booth alongside me. Hello, Tree. How are you?
Hi, Bez. Yeah, good. I have been in the chaos of a 5-week paternity, Flag Football World Championships, decorating and getting a house ready for moving. Oh, and Bafa finals as well. So it's been a bit of a hellish few weeks, but I am here. I am alive. I am safe and well. A bit more damp after Sunday because you guys got sunburned and we got drenched. But
Second
I
year
have
in a
made
row.
it out alive.
Second
oh, man,
year in a row it's rained on Sunday.
I would think the funny thing was, like, on this, obviously Saturday was beautiful. I got a suntan on my arm, and obviously playing on Sunday, I was like, I got a bit hot. I was like, I'll pull my Under Armour up. You know how the rain was like stinging my sunburn? I was like, I'm going to pull that back down again.
Don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag weekend for us, Bez. It is lovely to see you so
It
soon
was.
after the weekend. How was your train journey home? Make it home all right?
Journey home was train journey down could not have been better.
Right,
Could not have been better.
Okay.
The whole, like, on the way, as far as like preparation for the weekend goes, train in the morning, cruise to Edinburgh, lovely, swap in Waverley, but enough time to head up the street to go to one of my favourite little coffee shops just by Waverley Station, get myself a cup of coffee, back down all the way to Manchester, a wee bit of a delay but not too much, met off the train by the wonderful man that is Liam Harper, friend of the show. Met him off the train.
Nice.
Went for a nice little brew, and he took me to Vimto. Here's a treat for everyone. Vimto comes from Manchester.
I didn't know that, Bez.
Right, and there is a statue in a little park of the first Vimto bottle, I guess, and it's surrounded by like statues of fruit and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
You need to give me this postcode on back down that way.
Right in the middle of Manchester.
No idea. I was oblivious. There we go. Fact of the day already. We're only a few minutes in.
Exactly. So we sat on the bench and had a chat, and then I was like, "Well, I'll see you tomorrow." And he made sure I found the right bus stop. He's a tremendous host. Made sure I found the right bus stop, and off we went to the little
what a man! What
Airbnb, which was just round the corner from within walking distance of Platt Lane. So got my steps in walking there and back, as well as running around. But yeah, the train yesterday was a bit more fraught.
Yeah, because you sent me a picture at Preston just as you're leaving. You looked very happy and pleased with yourself, but the messages as it prolonged was worrying. Yeah,
there was a bit of a disintegration in my mental state as the day went on. So there was there's a signalling issue somewhere further south, which meant the train I was on caught up with a train going to Glasgow, which meant we had to like queue basically every station. That train stopped, and then we had to wait and then go in and pick everybody up going to Edinburgh the whole way up, which meant we were 4 minutes. I missed my connection home by 4 minutes out of Edinburgh.
You're kidding.
Problem with that is the trains are every hour and a half at best. from
Oh, for
Edinburgh
goodness
to
sake,
Inverness.
Bez.
So that 4 minutes led to me sitting in Haymarket for an hour and a half.
Oh, for goodness sake. Did
And
you get
then-
out the station, or did you go for a wee
So-
walk and go a wee coffee shop nearby? Or
Well, there is
the
actually a
Haymarket, there's a Starbucks just outside.
So there's actually, if you're in the Haymarket, there's a it's like a coffee truck basically, but it's inside.
Oh, it's like a barista stall
So
just
it's a little
inside at
van,
the top
right?
of
But
the
it's
platforms.
by-
Yeah, I know where you're at. Yeah.
It's by there's two. There's one that's through the gate and one that's like on the street side, as it were. It's called Lucky.
Yeah.
The roastery is called Lucky Beans. They are phenomenal. Like, it's a phenomenal independent coffee roaster in Edinburgh, and that's where they've got their little stop. It's just at Haymarket. So, Bez recommendation. Promise you we'll
There you
get to
go.
flag football at some point in the show, but Bez recommendation is visit Lucky Beans, because it's tremendous. So I sat there for
Get
a bit,
yourself a coffee.
read my book. I was working, so I was like on my laptop with a coffee, read my book. And then I got on the train, and the train to Inverness was one of those, when you get on the train and it's just a sea of reserved tickets.
Oh no, the white tickets that are on top
The
of the
white-
seats.
The white
The
tickets of,
ScotRail ones.
the white tickets of doom, right? I think there was about 8 seats on this 3-carriage ScotRail train that were unbooked. And obviously, because you're in Edinburgh,
On a Monday night.
on a Monday afternoon, it was I got
Monday
the
after-
one.
Oh, it would do an afternoon, right enough.
I got the 1:36 train.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
it was mental. And of course, people were like going up and down and checking if, because if it's like,
Oh, where does it start from? It could be like
if it's
Perth to
if
like.
it's like Perth to
somewhere.
Aviemore, then fine, I can sit here till Perth, whatever. But loads of them were like Falkirk, Stirling, so like you weren't going to get that far. So I ended up just sitting on a bike rack the whole way back to Aviemore.
Nice.
I was the carriage bicycle for the day. So
I'm gonna make no. I'll let the comments to speak for themselves on that
the
one.
people. That's where I was sitting. I don't know what
Bez
you're
the
talking.
bike.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's just where I was sitting.
Yep.
But
Cool. Well, that was fun. I mean, mine was less adventurous. I mean, driving home afterwards on a Sunday, it rained till about, I don't know, I think where it would have been. Quite far just outside of Manchester. Then it turned beautiful at about T-Bay services.
So
Gorgeous evening. The sun was setting beautifully. I'm like, why didn't we just play Chargers in Scotland? It would have been beautiful.
So on the
it was a
Monday,
beautiful drive home, so I can't
it
complain.
was misty and foggy and damp and wet until about the lakes. And by God, I almost got off the train because the hills and the lakes just looked amazing. I was like, I could just go for a run. I could just go for a run. I could just lose myself in these hills. But obviously, I had to come home. But yeah, I think I know the lakes are pretty busy, but they do look amazing. I've never been, but they do look amazing. Problem is, the Lake District seems really far away when you live in the Highlands, and you're like, well, there's plenty of mountains here. I've never been.
For you, it does. Yeah,
Right,
I quite like going to Manchester. It's only like 3.5, 4 hours. It's all right.
That sounds lovely. Yeah. So we'll do Saturday first.
Yep.
Let's talk about Saturday
Fine
first.
with me. Yeah, let's start Saturday. I'm cool
So,
with that.
We're going to do Saturday, the Premiership, and we're going to talk about the live stream.
Okay, I wondered when this would drop into conversation.
I'm
Okay.
going to talk about the live stream, and I am going to talk about it for at the most 10 minutes. We'll give ourselves 10 minutes, and after that, for the rest of the show at least, it's done. And we'll call it
I'll
there.
monitor the time. I mean, I could probably chip in a little bit, but I'll monitor the clock for you. So everyone, I'll keep Bez in control.
If you are at home or wherever you are in the car or wherever, and you don't want to listen to this, you've had enough of it, skip forward 10 minutes max. So it'll be about 18. So you know that we need to add the intro. So it'll be about 20 minutes maybe on your clock max, right? You can skip forward to and you could know all this nonsense. I did think about playing the audio, clipping the audio and just playing it for you all in context. And
because most people know about this, right?
Yes. So
if you're in Flag and you know Flag,
you're probably aware of what was said. So I did think about clipping the audio and just playing it in context and using that as the basis for this discussion and what are going to be my opinions on it. However, I then kind of decided that that's not, like, this podcast has never been, and as long as Tree and I are here, will never be about jumping on people and tearing them apart. Like, we've had our opinions and we've been not that shy in sharing them about organizational matters within Bafa or whatever. But this is obviously totally different. The audio footage is now obviously out there on the internet. Many people have heard it. Many people have seen it. It's not that difficult to find if you want to watch the video. It's also quoted almost word for word on Sport Tank. I don't know what a Sport Tank is, but they have written an article about it. They obviously cover the kitted side and seem popular. So they have covered it and they have basically written it out. But during the can't believe I'm saying this, during the Aberdeen Oilcats versus Chichester Sharks match, while I was physically on the pitch, the stream died. This camera went black, and the commentators who were a phrase that they've both used is contracted by Onside, obviously thought they were completely off air, which they're obviously not in the same room. So they were not on site. They were not present at Platt Lane. They were commentating remotely, which is relatively common across a whole bunch of sports, across many sports. Like throughout the pandemic, for example, I don't think there was actually a commentator in a football stadium at all for like a season. It was all just done, through the production van, and that's essentially what Onside have always done. It never goes directly from the booth at Platt Lane. It always goes back to the production van and then out, even if the commentators are there in person. So they thought that they couldn't be heard, and they decided to have a conversation that highlighted their ignorance about flag. They were, at best, struggling to know the rules of the sport they were commentating on. And at worst, they used a homophobic slur to describe flag football participants, and suggest that they put pads on and hit each other. Obviously, the community are very upset about this. There's been a whole myriad of reactions from people who are disappointed that could happen. Obviously, extremely hurt by the language that was used and the fact that essentially casual hate was broadcast on the national governing body's channel. And obviously, it was just, as word started to get around on the Saturday, people were furious, basically. Like, people were like, it was weirdly heartwarming to see that basically everyone was like, that's so far over the line, I don't even see how that can happen. Like, and as we said before, we're not going to turn this into a witch hunt. Basically, everyone involved has already released a statement. Some of them I'm kind of think are fine. The Bafa one, the national governing body, were pretty quick just to condemn it, distance themselves from Onside, and say that they're investigating the matter. I don't know what that means, but that's the kind of thing that you would expect from the national governing body. I thought Kyle and Catalyst made the correct decision to be like, pack up, don't come back tomorrow. Like, and that was a crying shame for the Division 1 players, obviously, who worked really, really hard. But like, that relationship is untenable, especially that, like, that's, sorry guys, you're done. I thought Onside's statement was like a bit buck passy. Like, I didn't know who the commentators were. Like, I don't watch.
No idea who they are.
I don't know. I don't watch kitted football in the UK. I watch Red Zone sometimes. I find it hard to watch a professional game of American football. Never mind.
I think I've watched one. And
the
it was
amateur
Scott
sport.
McDonald was in it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
right.
he was playing for East Kilbride, and I was like, "Oh, Scott's in this game. I'll pop it on."
Yeah,
but it doesn't really interest me.
It just doesn't. It doesn't float my boat, right? So I don't watch it, and I don't care. Like, and that's my opinion, right? That's fine. And there's plenty of kitted people out there who can also say, in a much more respectful manner, that they don't care about flag, right? Again, water off the duck's back, could not care less. Thought onside were a bit flaky because these two guys have apparently been their commentators on American football for like 10 years, right? So you don't really get to just pass them off as they were only contractors. Like, at the end of the day, when it comes to American football, they're your guys. You put them in that position. And for whatever reason, you did not have the capability to let them know that they were live when like, it's unbelievable that could even happen. Like, we are, like, you, myself, you know, everyone that's been involved, you know, we've had a team of 6 or 7 across whenever we've done a live stream at like the WFFL, for example. And like we're a bunch of amateurs with our laptops and like a home camera, like a home video camera, and the microphones that we use for podcasting. And like, you just turn the mic off. Like I don't. So like, there's that whole side of it before, and like, I don't want people to go away and think that the only problem with that broadcast was that 3 minutes, because it just wasn't, right? It just wasn't. Like, they didn't know the rules. They didn't sound interested. Like, there was a statement that came out, you know, saying that these were respected and knowledgeable, and they know the players, and they know the sport, and they know the community, and they didn't. Like, you can listen back to any of the games, and they did not. They didn't know the rules. They didn't know the basic tactics. They were as good at commentating on flag football as I would expect to be commentating on kitted if I was just dropped into it with a moment's notice. Like, no
You would know
prep,
the players, stats,
no prep,
understanding.
Like,
yeah.
It was. I feel like this would have been a discussion point, regardless of the hate speech that they put out anyway. I'm not in the Facebook group. I know I've been told that someone has, one of the guys, Matt, I think his name is. Again,
Yep,
sorry
right.
if that's wrong, Matt. Okay, he's put a statement out. That is a ChatGPT apology statement. I don't believe a word of it. I'm sorry. I just don't. Like, so do better, basically. If we're going to broadcast the sport, I feel like the lowest possible bar should be that. Like, that is unconscionable. It should never have been allowed to happen. It can never, ever happen again. There's no need for that language in flag in the world in general. Never mind, you know, and like, oh, boils my piss. It really does. And that's it, basically. Like, I could lose my rag. I'm going to have a breath. I'm going to have a cup of tea. And then we're going to talk about flag football, because this show has hopefully always been and always will be about celebrating the flag football community. And those two idiots do not, under any circumstances, get to overshadow what a brilliant weekend of flag it was. They do not get the prominence to tear the flag football community down, and they do not for a single minute get to imagine that somehow they are better than the flag football community, because they're just not, because the flag football community is, and here comes my swear, fucking brilliant.
Agreed.
And now we're going to talk about them. Oh,
I
10
will
minutes?
not. Yeah, about that, I think you're just about it. I don't feel like I'm going to add to that either. I think you've said everything that kind of represents the community as a whole. I think we're largely disappointed, but what you said is very relevant and everything is correct, and I stand with you on all of that. So it's just, it was hard to hear from like being a streamer on like Twitch and stuff, and then being a fan of the flag football for many years just as a sport. Yeah, it was. I think I agree with you. Disappointing. We learn and move on. From a lot of different perspectives. A lot of people have learned things this weekend about themselves, about the community, and we just need to grow and get better. We are here to support that in any way we can, and continue to develop and grow what the sport that we enjoy and love the most.
Saturday morning. It was hot. As soon as I stepped out the front door of the Airbnb at 10 to 8 in the morning, I had a light jumper on, like a thin techie hoodie. It was hot. It was hot, man.
I'm glad you thought it was hot. I was probably about Gretna at this point driving down, and I was absolutely heaving it down, thinking, oh, I'm going to get wet all weekend. It would have been just after your game finished. Got to Manchester, and then that hit me. I was like, I can't believe this. It's like its own little atmosphere down here.
Mate, it was nuts. It was nuts. Like, it was warm. And so yeah, first game for us. Last week I was on Inside Britball, which for those who maybe didn't know about Inside Britball, they have been going for this season. Aaron and Andy were around. Aaron plays for Wigan, the Wigan Bandits. And just to make it very clear, because I think on Saturday there was a little bit of confusion and maybe misplaced disappointment. Inside Britball and onside media are not the same. They are very, very different.
I think because they were on the materials as well. I think it didn't help that that show's doing the video. I wonder if that show's doing the commentary.
And they rhyme basically. Like it was understandable, but Aaron and Andy, and there's a group of them as well. Kiwi and Stuart, like they handle. They are Inside Britball. They are a different thing. They cover kind of American football in the UK as a whole. Andy is who I was on the podcast with the week before. He's like learning flag. Aaron obviously plays, and but they're a group of guys, and they were around. So yeah, basically, as I said, I was on their podcast before doing a bit of a preview, throwing my own team under the bus, and shout out. Spoiler alert, shout out to the Swansea Hammerheads. I said if they didn't win the national championship, they should be disappointed in themselves. Well, they did win the national championship, so they don't have to be. They should be very proud of themselves. But yeah, as I said, Titans, bad matchup for us. Bad matchup for us first thing on a Saturday morning. And so it proved we were undermanned, and the problem is when you go undermanned into a playoff day, there's no place for sentimentality, and other teams will murder you.
Yeah, my predictions were a little bit. I sent you my predictions before the game started, and that one let me down. Thanks, Bez.
Yeah. You weren't. To be fair, you weren't to know.
No, I was a complete homer, and I had you guys winning by 34-33 as my prediction.
You did. And it was bold. You would have got good odds. You would have got great odds on that. Yeah, it was a hard game. We played them pretty well in the first half. Second half, stretched out. Good teams do that. They stretched it out. George was brilliant. As always, wide. We played a great game at quarterback. I had a really, really nice chat with them afterwards as they were getting ready for their quarterfinal. It was a good game. It was played well. We were just not good enough on the day. And they coasted out to a very well-deserved win. It was one of those games where I knew we were down a lot, but I was also surprised when I saw that it was 41-14.
That's right.
It was one of those, like, I knew that we were down bad, but at the same time, when you see like 41, you're like, oh man, are we really that bad? But we weren't great.
It's only 3 scores a half.
I mean,
that's how I always look at it. It's like it's 3 scores a half. It was 3-1 either half. It maybe wasn't, but retrospectively to make it look a bit nicer. I think
it might have been 3-2, 3-0.
Right, okay.
Or something like that. Or maybe something like that. But yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I still enjoyed it. I felt like personally, I think I played all right. We just did. We struggled. And then around away, Chichester Sharks, Northants Titans. We were all expecting that to be tight. Because of the season and the in-match season, but the Sharks blood in the water, 41-19. It's a big result. The Devils and the Neptunes again. Reading, we expected them to win. We weren't sure. We were big on the Cheltenham will play them close, but maybe not. I think that's kind of what happened in the end. 28-19 for the Devils. They move on with a 2-score lead. Pretty comfy. These ones are harder for me because obviously I couldn't see them because I was playing.
I wasn't there in time
hadn't arrived, so
I hadn't arrived yet. No.
So, but obviously, result of the round was in the wildcard B matchup.
What a game! Like I had commentary and phone calls and Facebook messages going wild on my phone as this game was going on. Yeah, obviously you were playing and I was in a car, but not the result I think a lot of people, pretty much everyone, wasn't expecting. I mean, we know throughout the season the Outlaws have been competitive, and obviously contradictory to like the result regardless of that. I watched Outlaws the rest of the day, most of their games, from the sidelines, and they looked like Matt's
They look good.
look really good. Sean, James, all the guys, Liam playing at centre, they looked stellar.
And I think especially what's good about that, and what is like coming in for next year, like Mac looked good as well.
He did.
Michael looked good, but like Casper got hurt early and Archie wasn't there.
Oh, I heard it, like an ankle
Right.
injury or something.
Yeah, so like that's big. That's big for them. That's a big upset for them. I think the Broncos had put out, we've got everyone.
I think they pretty much did. Yeah.
For the first time ever. I think they put it on their Instagram, something like, we've got a full team for the first time in like a year or something. Everyone's coming. And for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't know if they just...
Can't comment. It wasn't there. I heard a lot of things.
I don't know if
they were disappointed.
They were very disappointed. But they didn't...
Specifics.
I know there's always, close games. You're always going to get into discussions about refereeing and stuff. But I think a couple of them definitely felt that, you should never have let it come to refereeing decisions in the first place.
Oh, I heard about this actually. Yeah,
I don't know I don't necessarily know what the calls.
Can't quite remember.
Either the calls or no calls were. Again, didn't witness them. Was on.
There was like a refusal of shaking a ref's hand at the end or something. It was that egregious, or whatever word you want to use.
That's
that at the end that I was like, oh no, okay, well that seems a bit much. Like obviously something's happened, but as you said, you never want to leave a game in a referee's hands.
Yeah,
regardless.
Exactly, and I also think like that like if we got a different call, that kind of does a pretty serious disservice to like how well Edinburgh played in that game. Obviously, to win it.
To hold any team to 20 points is great.
Holding our playoff team to 20 points, especially in a close one. And also that gives them the season series. Like they beat the Broncos earlier on in the year. They got their win the season series 2-1. So they advanced to the. So that's their. I think that's the Outlaws' first playoff win in this format since the Division 1 Premiership format.
Could be.
I think that is. I would need to check one of the guys in Edinburgh. If it's not, apologies. Please let me know. In the Prem.
I can't remember that far back, unfortunately, Bez.
The bit before.
I always remember
the bit before COVID kind of blurs out a bit, so I'm not sure.
I very vividly remember Outlaws Swansea because I remember being on the sideline watching that game in Division 1. Yeah, I always vividly remember that game, and even like the car journeys down and the stories that they told me. I remember that, but it's kind of vague outside of that, unfortunately.
I think that would be their first Premiership playoff win, which is massive for them. Congratulations to them. I think Aberdeen, we only got our first one in this format kind of last year. So it's it's big. I know some teams are lucky enough to go on deep playoff runs every year. But yeah, it's great for them and great for the club. So yeah, I spoke to a couple of the guys kind of on the sideline, and I spoke to some of them earlier on today. So yeah, huge congratulations to them, which then gave us. It was an interesting twist, that upset, because it moved the seedings around based on what a lot of people, I think, would have kind of gamed out.
I expected, yeah.
So yeah, I think it was around quarterfinal time you appeared, right? So
I rocked up in time for quarterfinals. I was watching Hornets Outlaws on the middle field, and on the left, I think it was Cardiff against the Sharks on my left. So I was split between the Cardiff game and the Hornets game.
Okay. Cool. I got a bit of Crows Devils, I think, and a bit of Hurricanes Sharks. I was kind of wandering along the three at the back, just kind of keeping an eye out.
Oh, I remember seeing you actually at that point.
Kind of, they were a bit underwhelming, the quarterfinals.
They were a bit.
In the sense that the team that eventually won the game jumped out early. And then
the Hornets.
And then held on.
The Hornets
just eased through.
Yeah, they put the pressure on the Outlaws. Like, from what I saw, the Outlaws weren't moving the ball that particularly well, and the Hornets were just dominant from better field position, and it was quite stifling. But that's what the Hornets do. That's just who they are. That's their identity. They're defensively maestros, which we'll obviously get to in a minute. But
especially when they're up, when they're up, they're such a hard team. They're a brilliant team anyway, obviously, but they are very good for front runners. Like if they're up on you, it is a nightmare. As someone who plays them at minimum twice a year.
Oh, I
never
don't
mind
want
it.
my Hornets
mind-
like days
never
are
mind
slightly
in-
behind me.
Never mind in all the other tournaments as well, but I'm an absolute minimum. It's twice in the Bafa leagues.
Yeah, remember I used to play them like I think it was like 2 years ago. It's like, oh, here goes Carnegie versus Hornets
Yeah,
again.
you got it's like 3 tournaments in a row. They were in your group or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That was special. So the Hornets, jumped out 58-6 over the Outlaws. The Hurricanes 40-12 over the Sharks. The Devils 51-26 over Manchester Crows.
That was a weird one. I didn't expect that. Or the Crows, after their dominating MEC performance this year, just getting swept aside by the Devils almost.
I didn't expect it. Yeah. That was the one that would have, if you were going to pick an upset, I think you would have picked that one just because it's the 4-5 and
yeah, because Sharks are young, and you got George and Matteo and stuff like that. They're growing, they're getting into Chichester. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future. And you're like, yeah, as you say, Cardiff. You kind of I'd maybe expect that kind of experience and just
Cardiff
pure level of they're doing Cardiff things. Hornets, I would have called that any time, and the smoke game, which we'll cover, same. But this one didn't see it coming. Not by that many scores.
Yeah, I mean the way the game started, it was ominous early. I think
Okay.
I was taking footage of that game. I've shared reel. There's a brilliant throw to the back of the end zone.
Oh, that was a quality catch as well. Yeah,
it was and it was a bit ominous. And I think they then turned the ball over, and there were a couple of scores up relatively quick. And again, that team with, they're stacked with young talent, with Tom and Elliot and Home Alone and the rest of them. And they're a very good team. And I think they're going to be around deep playoff runs for a while. I think they are in, a lot of them are in the GB setup at some level, be that gold, silver, whatever. So as long as they can keep that core together, then I think they're going to be a problem for a while. They're obviously in the division with the smoke teams. Some people might see that as a curse, but at the same time, beaten them once already. So there's definitely that kind of aspect to it. Yeah, Manchester, that was a tough draw. It was a tough draw from them, especially when you're getting a team that have already played a game. Like quarterfinals, I always feel is an awkward game for the higher seeds, and kind of the guys that are playing in the higher seeds will often tell you that they can just be a bit, would be a good word, like sticky. It can be a bit. You're kind of getting going and feeling the other team out, but they're already up and running, and it's a bit, but you're a higher seed and you're better than them, and all that kind of.
Because it's a 4-5 game as well, like Crows 4, Reading were 5. Like seeding wise, it's a
based on
record,
based on regular season record as well. Like Reading were the better team, but they were just unfortunate that they didn't win their division. Much like other teams have in the past.
Because Reading beat Cardiff, and Cardiff beat Smoke. Is that how it worked?
Yes, sorry. Cardiff beat the Smoke. Smoke beat Reading twice, and Reading beat Cardiff.
I do something like that we sort of round robin between each other.
I said the Devils had already beaten the Smoke this year, but they hadn't. Yes, sorry. It was the Cardiff game that they won. So, good teams in that conference. Obviously, good teams in the north as well. For those that are up here, so that was a good one. Smoke 50 burger on the Titans. Didn't see a huge amount of that one because it was on the other side of the fence, basically.
Same. I didn't see. I wasn't watching those ones.
When I did walk back and forward because I went to my bag a few times and got a bit of footage and watched that one. You could tell just by walking by the pitch that the Smoke were up.
It's funny you mentioned that. Like I was speaking to, I think it was Neely or Guthrie. I can't remember who it was. It's like that game. Smoke have just scored and it's very quiet. And I'm like, that's either very ominous that they're up by a mile and they're not wooing and cheating. Because you know what Smoke are like when they're sidelines. They're always in your face and really obnoxious.
They want you to know about it. They want you to know about it.
They know about it. And it was like nothing. I was like, either they're down bad and they just don't care, or they're up big and it's just over. And obviously it was over, apparently. But no, I didn't get to see that one. Again, same as you, over the fence. But I was out of my HNC loyalness on the side of the Hornets and Outlaws games, sort of supporting the guys. So Didn't get a chance to see that one. But I did see both semi-finals, though. I was parked right in the middle of them. So I got to watch both at the same time, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that created some pretty interesting plate games, and actually
these were good.
And actually, the Crows dropping again kind of reset the
and the Broncos, the two of them.
Yeah, so them kind of dropping out kind of reset the plate a bit. So, rather than it basically just being a rematch of the wildcard round, we did at least get to play some new teams. So the Crows and the Neptunes got to play each other, which might be the first time that's happened. It's an unlikely match anyway. Obviously the Neptunes have been newly promoted, so it's kind of unlikely that they will have played each other in a final before. Crows 45-29 there. So what, 3 scores? But or I guess 2 touchdowns with 2 points, but a large margin. You could tie it up in 2, but a big one. I saw that. I don't know. Cheltenham had a run of like rough matchups, right? Like because they're coming in as the 12th seed, right? So you always know that you're going to face someone big.
Don't talk to me about being a low seed. I'll talk about the Sunday night.
I'm looking forward to that.
All about being a low seed.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, 12 stuff. 12 stuff.
12 is hard, right? I don't know. Part of me was thinking like, I wish I'd seen more from them. Like I wish I'd. But at the same time, you're the 12 seed. You're guaranteed to match up with someone who's probably won what you won double.
Yeah, Reading.
So,
It was their first game, like right at the bat. You're playing the number 5th seed team in the country, arguably 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, Reading obviously ended up where they did at the end of the tournament, and to only be like a score and a bit away from them in the first game of the day. I mean, it's a good showing for them. I should be proud with the guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with Cheltenham as well, like obviously a lot of moving parts in the last year, a lot of new faces. So I'm very hopeful that they'll come back next year. New team, more learnings, and start to maybe ease themselves up, because while it is also it is just a race to get into the playoffs, like seeding, it makes such a difference. Like it makes such a difference. Even from like an All Cats perspective, last year we were the 7 seed or the 8 seed. We were ranked 2 or 3 teams higher than we were this year, and it was just so much easier to like go on a bit of a run even in the plate, like because you just get like a slightly more favorable matchup. Basically, like it's not the difference between your records is not quite as disparate. So yeah, Broncos and Titans unbowed by their defeat to the Smoke. Pretty much decided like, right, they basically decided they're winning the plate. Like that was essentially what happened. They were like, we are winning the plate, and they looked good in that game. Like, they looked fast. I was playing at the time, but I kind of saw a bit of kind of footage back, and obviously I saw the Titans in there. They won the game 35-18, so I saw them in the next round again, and they looked sharp.
I was watching. Yeah, I was getting between the fields. I was watching Broncos, Manchester Titans on my left, and you guys on my right.
Yeah.
Manchester defensively were very good. I'm sure they had 2, maybe 3 interceptions.
Okay.
Throughout that game, that it was pivotal. I think early on, I thought the Broncos were going to do quite well. They had ball in really good positions. I'm sure they had at least another interception themselves as well. So the first half were very comfortable, looked okay, and then the game started to get away from them. Bez, it started to just eke, and then there was another one, turnover and downs. I'm sure it was. I can't quite remember, but the game for Manchester just got away from the Broncos a little bit. I mean, it's hard. Obviously, that was my first Broncos game that I saw the day. There was situational stuff that I thought positionally there was players that could be better suited to each position. I'm not going to call people out. That's not what I do. I think Broncos defensively could have changed their matchups a bit better. Speaking obviously to Scooter, there was a few poor decisions in regards to like just where the ball was being thrown to positionally. They could have been a lot more methodical in the ways in which they played against the Titans. But yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, the Broncos, they want to be beating Manchester. They should be beating the Outlaws. The Broncos are a team that are they know they're better than this. So let's just hope there's a bit of a reset over the winter. I don't know whether that's personnel, because I believe I think Matty's leaving. I think he's immigrating to Australia.
He's
I
off to
think.
Australia,
So
there was a lovely moment actually after the games were over where he was presented with a Build-A-Bear that had been dressed to look like one of his work photos.
Okay.
It was very
I must have
sweet.
missed that.
It was very sweet. It was very sweet. So yeah, that'll be Matty's kind of
He'll
goodbye,
be sorely missed,
and he will be very sorely missed.
Yeah,
very
a nice kid. I've got all the time in the world to speak to him, and I think Fraser Hudson took over a little bit centre duties at the weekend, which I'd seen him doing training. So there's a lot of change going on there. I think there's going to be a lot of evolution of the Broncos, particularly quarterback playbook. I'd love to give them a little bit of insight from what I saw, because I think there's the things that they could change to make themselves better. Because I would love to have a Broncos offense, Bez. Honestly,
I think a lot of people would love to have a Broncos offense.
So much fun. Like what I did with the Kings offense. Give me the Broncos guys, and oh my god, it'd be just so much fun. There are just things that they can do that other players just can't, just through talent. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen over the off season. I'm in obviously the inner circle now a little bit, so I'll keep my ears to the ground and training and stuff and see if I can see what they're doing. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, they're not really in Winter League. It'll be like Flag in the Year, Flag and Ironman in training. And obviously they'll be split out over Winter League. So it'll be interesting to see where they go next with this.
I'm sure they'll continue to be a problem next year.
You know it as well as anybody else in the league. They're going to come back with all guns blazing and pissed off from this experience. So they're going to be better.
Yeah, they had sometimes it takes a very bad day to have a lot of very good days. So
Titans look good though. I'll give the Titans
did look
Bez.
Titans could look good. They look good for most of the day.
Your game though. Did I get to talk about your game?
You want to do our game?
I loved your game, Bez. That was so exciting.
I couldn't have told you what the score was at any time. It was one of those games where it was literally just like, we're up to.
I need to apologise to you, Bez, publicly on our little podcast show that we do. I have to apologise.
Why?
You guys were up, I think, 2 scores, and you had the ball back. And I said to Heather, and John Guthrie was right next to me, and I was like, all Scott has to do here is look after the ball.
And then
go down the field, march it down.
Is this the triple tip?
I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah. Then all you have to do is just look after the ball, just go down, waste the clock.
Yeah.
Maybe just push it in. I thought he could do that. And I said, but you know what he's going to do, Heather? He's going to throw a pick on at least maybe the second or third pass. First pass pick. And I was like,
to be fair to Scott,
I am so sorry.
To be fair to Scott as well, that is one of those picks that I know quarterbacks hate.
Yep.
Because it hit a receiver.
Yep.
In the hands. It bounced, it hit a different receiver in the head, and then it landed in the hands of a safety.
I feel like I manifested that, Bez, and I'm so sorry. I was like, all Scott has to do is protect the ball and run, or just do something really simple, like a 5-yard, 7-yard hitch, nothing mental. And I was like,
it was just a little in route. It was just
Heather looked at me and just told me to go away. I'm so sorry. I've known Scott for long enough now that he's not going to keep it simple. He's going to pass it.
It was just a little 7-yard in route, and it just bounce, and then we got into. Yeah, so we were up 9. So we were up 9, and they had the ball.
Yeah, they had the ball back. Now
So we were up 9, and they had the ball, and they scored. So then we were up 3, and then it was the pick.
That was the pick to then put them in a good field position.
And then they scored, and now we were down 4, and then we had the drive to win it, and they stopped us on 4th down going for the end zone. And we thought we'd won it as well because of the sack, which, as a blitzer, I have to admit, fucking brilliant sack. What a sack that was! Felt
good.
A millisecond later, felt terrible at the time. Of course. But 2 or 3 frames later on the film, and it's not a sack. You know,
it's madness when you look at it like that.
Yeah, it was a brilliant sack. That obviously marched us back 7
had
yards.
A stellar game as well in that.
He was superb. Game. He was massive. I mean,
over the top, big catches on the stream, and then there was one at the back where he caught it. And I've sent you the video, the picture with his heels up in the back of the end. So it's out. It's like
it's not though.
Have a look at this
because because I
elite heel raising.
where I was on the sideline, I was like, he's landed that on his tiptoes and leaned in and then stepped out. Like,
unreal.
Man,
He must be.
The man's unbelievable.
I want to see his high heel collection in his room because my goodness, that is some like calves he's got on him to do that.
Fascia is like the man's unbelievable. Like,
yeah, unfortunate on that one, Bez, man. That was a good fun game to watch. I kind of switched off on the Broncos Titans game a little bit. Actually, as you might have noticed, I started to stand on your sideline in the second half, going, "Ooh, it was exciting."
It was a good game to be in. I always like playing the Crows.
The Crows is always a good one.
The Sharks. Sorry, I'm looking at Turnify, and I've got the Crows game up. But
Crows are good to play as well.
Crows. I like those games too. But it's always good to play the Sharks. Obviously, don't get to play them a lot. They've been perennial visitors to the Quake. Often see them a lot at kind of Flag and New Year as well. It was awesome. And like you mentioned earlier on, like George is going to be a problem for a long time. Like Mateo was hurt, he wasn't played, but he was there.
Yeah, I spoke to him in the morning, and he said he hurt his hip or something in an earlier game. I think it was the first game of the day.
Yeah, it was great to see him. Like I had a very, very quick chat with him about kind of youth Euros, which is nice. But yeah, then Neil, George, Will, Kate, they're all there, kind of hanging out. Ben, another young guy was stellar. Corey played well in the middle. Like they were good. We were good until the very end, and 41-37. That's a pretty good game to be involved in. Not great for defensive connoisseurs like myself, but we tried hard. I almost made the play of my life, so that was it.
Split second. All it was, Bez, a split second.
Almost made the play of my life.
That'll be you need to run a little bit harder in the winter.
So.
Run up more hills.
It was probably the only time I wish I had slightly smaller arms, because it hit me. By the way, George can sling the rock, because that ball hit me basically square in the wrist, and my hand went numb. Like, he hit me like right in the soft part of my wrist. And
he's a baller.
My hand went numb for about a minute after that. But yeah, no, it was a good game. Obviously, it's disappointing to go all the way down there, lose 2 games, and just be like,
of course, yeah.
Done. And I feel like the team are in a good spot because we were all pretty down. We were all like, we could have won that game. Regardless of who's missing, we could have won that game. We could have progressed a bit.
It's a lot of key guys, like massive guys. Greg, massively influential.
Yeah. Greg
Drummond, massive on the defense.
So,
Simon,
like
there's
Eli,
so
Steve.
many guys. Like Andy Keith had a good game against Sharks. It was fun to watch him play. Gary, being in. You still got Scott. Your number 22, the guy's name eludes me again. Played stellar for being a sort of rookie almost.
Yeah, Davide.
Yeah, very good. So it's a good showing for you guys. Like definitely, definitely not something to be ashamed about.
Like, it's the playoffs, right? It's hard. It's hard.
Yep. You're not playing against nobodies. You're there for a reason.
No, you're not. You're playing against good teams all around. So yeah, that was the play. Ants in Edinburgh. They played a tight one next to us, but Edinburgh eventually got out 20-13. And yeah, they were the only Scottish team that advanced in the plate, while Glasgow advanced in the championship bracket, and that brought us to my favourite round is always the semi-finals, because there's just so much on the line.
It matters so much.
Like it does. It does, and I think this is across all sports. Like the AFC and the NFC championship games, always solid. Like the Rugby World Cup semi-finals, always the best games. Like, they are just nuts. Champions League semi-finals are always, they're over 2 legs, so it's a bit different. But like, if you get, World Cup semi-finals of anything are always like mega, because it just matters. And you can't play it safe. You can't hold out for the win, because if you lose, you're just done. You can, like,
third and fourth.
Finals are a bit cagey.
Yeah.
Finals are always a bit cagey because no one wants to lose the game. But in semi-finals, people are still there going out to like win it. Glasgow and Reading. We'll do Glasgow and Reading first.
Great game. I really enjoyed watching this one. I think Hornets got out pretty well.
Hornets were 14-0 up, yeah.
Yeah, they got out really well from the plate. I think Cammy had a few good plays. Richie was getting the ball moving up the centre as well. There's very, very consistent. Defensively, were really good. There was a couple. I think there was at least one Reading score I would wipe off I think they'll admit to that as well. It was an illegal run play that got called a score when it shouldn't have been, so it should be 33-19 or something. But
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, so the game, it looks a bit closer than it was. There was a score near the end of the game, or second to last score that shouldn't have counted. 4th down as well. Quarterback for Reading,
Tom.
Yeah, he's speaking to us after the game. It's like, yeah, I told him not to run because it was an illegal run, and he ran, and we got it. Shh, don't tell anyone. But the Hornets in that one, for me, that showed their consistency moving the ball. They weren't worried. The game plan you could see from the outset was quite similar to the previous game. Progressive movement, using your option and your legs, making good decisions on the passing. So the influence of guys like Ewan Miller is very evident. The way in which the plays are much more methodical, and their yardage that they're getting, Bez, is progressive. And there's no, like, I have to force this. There was no, I didn't feel as though watching Nicky this weekend, he was ever in the need of, like, I have to force this to make something happen. It was like, I'm doing this, and I'm getting these yards, and I'm going to play that because I need to get to here. It was so nice to watch that Reading game just be in control. Well, for me, looked in control from a spectator. But Reading, they were stifled on the defense. There was, I think if I remember, there was at least one pick, if I remember right, that kind of, that the Hornets were needing to kind of stop them from, to keep going. I think it was Maka, I can't remember, or a bat down or something.
They did have. I think they did have the ball to drive to tie. They would have needed the extra point, but at the end they had to have the ball with the possibility of driving down to tie, but turn the ball over, and that's all she wrote. So they went into battle for their medal, and we got the Hornets back to the final.
Yep.
However,
that other game though,
on the other pitch,
oh my goodness gracious me, what a game this was.
And if you've not yet, like, go back and watch this on the stream. Like,
do it. Yeah.
The standard of flag football on display in that semi-final between the 2-time defending champions and the 2-time champions in the Hurricanes and the Smoke was. It was just, for a non-contact sport, it felt like a heavyweight boxing match. Like, the pace, the accuracy, the speed, the emotion. Like, you knew, like, that was contested like a final.
Oh, it was. That could have been your final. You could watch that as an outsider and say that's the final, and you'd be none the wiser because it was played like it.
Just like
all the way to the end.
Relentlessness of both clubs, and it, for it to come down to 1 point against the clock the way it did was almost a shame. Like, you wanted that, like, knockout.
Yeah, because I'm sure that the clock ran out on Smoke as well, near the halfway line.
They were tackled inbounds, and then basically the clock ran dead before they could stop it.
My gripe was that I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, I couldn't see, but I'm sure it was Liam Fleming. It was on the sideline, and I think there was a delay. It wasn't a delay as such, but he obviously signalled the clock's running. But then there was like something. There was an animosity on the sideline. I don't know what it was, but I just wonder whether the Smoke could have just ignore that and just move on and take the next play, take a knee, get this clock stopped. There was something. I need to go back and watch it again.
Okay. I wasn't entirely sure because I'd been watching the very end of the Glasgow game, and I was at the.
Oh, same. I was
like the railing.
I could just see it beside me, and I seen Liam signalling, and then there was something said, and the clock ran out. I'm like, that's very unsmoke-like. Like, normally it'd be like, take a knee, at least have a shot, like one, like, I need this ball, I'm going to take a shot to go.
Yeah, we're going to do this.
And it wasn't. It was just like the referee, game over. It's like, that's very unsmoke-like. They're very, time management-wise, Charlie's one of the best, if not the best, clock management person we have.
Yeah.
He's GP quarterback for a reason. So it was an unusual end to the game, but for not having a playbook, Joe Cotterill is just subhuman. To go into a game with, the knowledge and experience of that man, to just call the plays as he sees it, and to come out victorious against your defending double champions. It's just quite a feat in itself.
it's so good to see Cardiff back.
Yeah. How many quarterbacks do you know don't play with a quarter?
One, Joe. Oh, two, actually. There's that Italian guy that uses a notebook.
Well, that's true. That's true, yeah.
But, just so good.
Yeah.
Like, the level and how much they wanted it. And, it felt like Cardiff just wanted it. I don't know. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say they wanted it more, because I'm not going to say that someone didn't want to get to the final. Of course they did. But,
A Smoker want to win it again. Of course they were.
Of course they were. 3-peat. Are you kidding? The valor, the distinction it takes to just battle that through and set up a 1 seed, 2 seed final was what we wanted. It gave the people what they wanted.
Yep. It
was a very popular final, I think, amongst those that were there. It was a very give us something new. There's a lot of people on both sides that are well liked, and I think at the end of it, to the neutral, probably would have been happy with either result. Now, you and I are obviously not super neutral in this.
No, definitely not.
With HNC loyalty oozing out of every fibre of our being during that game. But I was surprised at, maybe not surprised, but it was different to last year. Last year, Glasgow were up at the half, and they had catastrophe befell them.
Yep. What a difference a year makes.
Oh, they didn't look anything. They did not look anything like
totally
that team
in control,
last year.
progressive, moving the ball. Like every pass felt like it was catchable in a position it gained yardage. A lot of their option movement play between Kerins, Nicky looked clean, apart from a couple. The most looked really good. Offensively, yeah, the Hornets weren't flawless. I mean, there was times in there where things happened that obviously didn't quite go to script. There was at least one situation that I think Cardiff. I think this game could have been closer, Bez. There was one instance that I don't know if a lot of people would have noticed, but I don't know if it's unsportsmanlike, but there was a situation where Costas did score or was close to scoring early in the game.
The deep shot early in the game.
pulled his flag just over the half or whatever it was. So the play
he was flagged for an early flag,
which
pull,
is kind of like a naughty, like you shouldn't really do that. Kind of like it's smart and if you actually watch
if you watch it back on the stream, Costas goes back into the huddle and does like the head tap, like smart brain thing to the Cardiff players. They did score on that drive, to be fair. They did score on that. They did score later in that drive to make it 7 each.
Yeah, we don't want to endorse that type of stuff, but it was clever. You were beat. Like, they could have been there. And even in regards to like the end of the game, Bez, I feel as though watching Cardiff in the last 7-8 minutes was a different Cardiff team. The way in which they then started to move the ball was probably what they could have been doing earlier in the game. They were getting some big chunk yardages, and that catch over Max at the end, my lord, that's one of the catches of the season. It's not even close.
It's one, to coin a phrase, it's like, that, like, they made it 7-7, and that was as close as it got from there on out. Yeah. Like, it was, at one point, it was 33-7, and Cardiff have come back at the end because you can't kill Cardiff.
No, you can't.
Right? They're going to keep coming at you, and I think a lot of people will remember the final for that moment of absolute brilliance.
Yep.
From Costas.
And Nicky done nothing wrong either, even though Cardiff scored like a couple of touchdowns at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's only because Nicky wasn't doing anything stupid. Like, he didn't have to go. Now, don't get me wrong, there was one situation where he did pass to Jules deep, and I was like, I didn't expect you were going to do that, and he scored. I thought it would be nice progressive. He did, though. He looked after the ball. That's the thing, though,
like, you're pulling people in, and then you're going, like, it's basic,
run the clock, keep it nice and gentle, like, do your stuff, do not do anything stupid. And yeah, obviously you're going to be running the clock out, but that then keeps Cardiff off the ball. So even if they did score twice, you've already got the game in your hands. Like, it made no difference whatsoever in the overall retrospective of the game and the score. So Nicky did everything like he could have done to win that. And hats off to the hard work he's done in the off season and throughout the year with the guys, just drilling them. And that defense is just, you can't say that it's your GB defense, man. You're not going to get it better than that.
It was like, yeah, it was just absolutely superb. And like, a lot of those guys put like an awful lot of work in. You should
be on Hornet watch now for when the next time do they ever lose a game.
Like Max, Maka, you know, Ollie, you know, Stepani, you know, like Gibson and Nicky especially, like their first, what was 2014, their first final? It's been a decade since their first final, you know, like lost 3 of the things. Finally, they get over the hump. Like, that's amazing for them, you know, like Jules, I think Jules was in that 2014 final as well.
Not quite.
Or was it
Not
2016?
yet.
Was it the 2016
So he
final?
left Carnegie in 2016, 2017, somewhere about there to
Okay, I
pursue
think he was
the
at-
national championship. This was his first one. So that's what I was so proud just for
Okay,
Jules
yeah.
alone.
Like
Just I've known
2016
him
final must
for a
have been
very
his
long
first one.
time. Just for him to get that, you know, Nicky as well, Richie. A lot that we've grown up with a lot of these guys like in the sport, and like it's just nice to see them go on to accomplish the things that they've been trying to achieve. They've obviously in Scotland in our division dominated for a while, which they take for granted. But it's that next step that's now okay. Now you've done it. Can you do it again?
Yeah, process for a bit, and then before we know it, it'll be time for the wheel to go around. But yeah, like it's just there's a you know like Rich, the work that Richie has done on himself this year, like, has been unbelievable. And there's a group of people in the flag football community, and I said before they're absolutely brilliant, but there's a group of people in the flag football community that have so massively improved their level of fitness and their health through this sport. Richie being one fantastic example. You know, I think he hadn't had a drink all year. He was saying, "I'm not having a drink until I win one." He looks amazing. You know, on that kind of subject, like Dave Ronald from Murray. If you don't follow him, if you don't follow him on Instagram, you should go do it. He'll inspire you. He'll inspire a generation. Yeah, like, you know, like Kerrance not so long ago was thinking about giving up the sport because when he was injured. You know, like there's great stories on that whole team. From those that are with the team for the first year or two to those that have been there for a decade plus.
To say that Blitzer's not bad.
Yeah, he'll do all right. Actually, that rookie, he'll be all right.
That rookie will be all right.
That rookie will be all right. So yeah, like I can't say enough. Congratulations to them. Commiserations, obviously, to the Hurricanes on losing the final, but congratulations on another great season. Like, it's amazing to see them back. You know, this time last year that, you know, they were out. They weren't even in the playoffs with you know, the personal circumstances and the injuries that they had across their team. London Smoke are not going to go away. Reading Devils not going to go away. Crows, Broncos, Titans. Like, it's getting to the point where it's hard to see. You know, there's not many teams fading. Put it that way. There's not many teams fading, and we've got another
Swansea coming in now.
We've got another fresh batch of Div 1 teams. So that's a lovely segue into Sunday, the day that it rained.
Do you want to mention plate final?
Oh yeah,
we just did mention it. Yeah,
sorry, plate final for Prem. I don't have the score handy, but the matches.
Crows lost to the Titans by a point in the semi.
Crows lost.
Liam Harper did have the ball to win, but was too short.
Yes, he was stopped short because he came back to the ball like you're supposed to.
Yep, that 6'5", 6 man is too short and didn't get it in.
He was 7 feet from the end.
That's how close the Crows were to winning that one. And then the Outlaws chewed off the Sharks 34-27. They gave us a Titan Outlaw final, and I don't know what the score was. No idea.
I'm not sure what the score was, but
I know the Titans won.
Titans did win. Titans won the plate. And I think it was Alan Mead who spoke about that, saying it's actually feels better to come fifth than to come fourth because at least you get to win the last game. But yeah, congratulations to both of them on a run to the final. Congratulations to both of them on joining the 5-game club. There's not many teams out there that have played 5 games of IFAF rules in a single day. But yeah, welcome to the club, guys. We as yet don't have t-shirts, but yeah, it takes a lot out of you playing the 5 games in a day. But I still think the format matters quite well. Okay.
Monday.
Day 2. Sunday the 15th of September. I opened my curtains in Manchester and let out an audible groan, I think, because I could barely see the roof of this flat across from me in the fog and the rain.
Yes. Sunday was very moist, Bez. It was a bit on the damp side. Brollies at the ready, jackets at the ready. It was.
I wasn't prepared, I'll be honest. When I checked the forecast on
You're not?
Thursday night before I left, it was still a wee bit overcast, but warm and dry.
Oh, I had waterproof trousers, looked out, Bez, brollies, jackets. Like
I had no
was
idea.
ready for the rain. Yeah,
I
I
had
seen
no
it on the
idea
forecast.
until I woke up on Sunday morning. It was going to
It
rain.
wasn't meant to be that bad though. It was meant to be 8 till 10 rain, and after it, just light showers. And even the light showers were like low percentage.
So when you were playing
No.
your first round game, we'll talk about that in a minute. When you were playing your first round game, I was in the tent because we were helping out with the kind of the Turnify organization.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had like the radar up, and I was like, lads, it's only going to get worse. That's a lot of yellow coming this way.
Yeah, it certainly did nothing, but it felt like it got worse at stages where it was so heavy, like it just drenched you, again and again, all through the day. It was, for flag football, Bez, Saturday was the pinnacle of weather. Sunday was, well, the opposite end of the scale. It was.
And then there was a decision. There was a
very
decision made somewhere. I'm not sure who makes it, but somewhere was like, if you want to play in the sunshine, you have to get promoted.
Yeah, it felt like that, Bez. Because honestly, like it changes up everything. It changes up your game plan, how you go about what you're doing, how you're playing. Can potentially ruin teams the rain, particularly the ones that are maybe not as experienced playing in the wet. But oh my lord, it was vicious. Yeah.
So talk to me about your.
I mean, we played that team that are not too bad. They're pretty okay. Pretty okay. Yeah. And it was a tough game. I mean, from the offset, I think I started Neely and I started from slot instead, just for the way things are going. I thought I'll give Neely the chance to continue the momentum from promotion relegation game day, just see how it goes. Got kind of threw a couple picks early, unfortunately, so we weren't offensively in a good position. We were kind of on the back step a little bit. So I got swapped in at quarterback to see if I could kind of get things going a little bit. Eventually, I can't remember much of the game, to be honest. I remember some of bits of it, but it was kind of vague at this point. Unfortunately, I don't know why. Because it was wet and my brain was melting away. But yeah, we eventually eked out. I think it was kind of close at the end. The Chargers had a chance. The Chargers were a bit of a weird one. I don't mind calling them out for this, but they didn't play how I expected them to play. They could have beaten us, definitely. If they had Nolan from the start and played to the end, and played a bit more Brandon Lynch in the rain, I think they could have beaten us. Just because the way in which they play, they're fond of a run game. And the rain plays into that. Where the other quarterback they had, I forget his name unfortunately, was passing it. And in the rain, that's you're leaving it up to picks, and if you don't get the ball quite right in your hand, and there's a few deep passes that we picked off, and that's what gave us the edge, was just getting the ball back simply. And I think it was a shutout in the second half for both teams because of that change.
Oh, wow.
I think that if Noel had stayed on, I think that game could have went the other way, just because of the weather conditions and the way things would have turned out, because that's their game. They run the ball. Brandon Lynch is phenomenal at it. So it was a good game for us. I mean, we'll take beating the Chargers again for the fourth time this season and still be their duck and take that into next season as well. But yeah, that was an odd game, that one, honestly, Bez. But I was glad to kind of get that one out the back. I said to the guys, like, if I beat the Chargers this weekend and that's the only game I win,
I'll take it.
I'm not really fussed for anything else because of the way the seedings worked out. VPP, in my opinion, were always going to beat Exeter.
Yeah.
Regardless of what, just because of their experience, their talent, and just they're really good. And unfortunately, I seen that Exeter didn't have Ed. I don't think he was there, and I think they were missing maybe one other guy that I normally recognise. He wasn't there, so we would then, if we beat the Chargers, just hypothetically before the weekend, we would then be playing the best seeds all the way through to however far we went. So in my mind, I was like, well, if I beat the Chargers, if we've beaten them already this year, anything after that, Brucey bonus. We'll take it. So yeah, so we did make it through in the end to the round of 8 to meet another team, which we'll talk about in a second. But I mean, there were some other juicy games though. I mean, I walked past the Honey Badgers and the Gators game, and that was very excitable on the sideline, Bez. I think the Honey Badgers came out 20-14 winners.
So that was the game that was closest to us in the tent, and I couldn't have told you. I couldn't have told you the score for most of it. I just because it just felt like turnover on downs happened a lot. Turnovers happened a lot. Badgers seemed to spend more time near the end zone.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? Like they spent more time like close to us. Like a lot of the game was played at that end, but they didn't always seem to actually like cross the line.
Get it in.
20-14, they won in the end. But it was one of those games that between like the 5-yard lines was obviously brilliant. They were just struggling with the last bit. But that makes it tense, right? That keeps it going
That's what it's meant to do, yeah.
you can be down in that kind of game, but because there's only one score, it's like you just need one.
I'm trying to remember what seating this game was as well. Were these the
this
middle
was the 12,
ones?
This was the 12-13 game, yeah.
Ah, yeah. So right in the middle. So it's always going to be a close one. That one. 'Cause I think the other games were
The other was 11-14.
VPP was the other way around. Chargers and Colts was again the other sort of top end, and then the Leeds Ravens was kind of the same. The Leeds winning the Battle of the Midlands.
They did win the Trans-Pennine contest.
They'll enjoy that.
Yeah,
again, I
the
never
Leeds were
saw
pretty
it. I was
happy.
playing.
Again, no, I didn't see that because I was in the tent. Yeah, good for Leeds to get their win. I think the Ravens will be a bit disappointed in that. I think they would have hoped to have maybe
I think so. Yeah.
maybe pinched that one, despite being a lower seed. I think they would have hoped to pinch that one. They obviously didn't manage it, but they dropped into the plate tournament. But yeah, then we then got to that took us to the round of 8. Yes, round of 8.
Again, the lowest ranked team.
Yeah, so right, obviously we're going to shout out
We have to.
the Buckinghamshire Wolves, right?
We have to.
We absolutely have to. Callum, I think Aaron was there. There's only 4 of them.
Only 4 of them.
Only 4 of them, right, on finals day. And it's not a short journey. Not the longest journey in the world, but still not a short journey to Manchester from Buckinghamshire. With four players, knowing what's probably going to happen throughout the day. Never mind that you then arrive and it's
the weather as well.
There's folk building arcs in the car park. Yeah. So like full credit to them, and they played you well. Considering that they only had 4 on the pitch and you had 5.
It took me, honestly, Bez, I hated this game. Like
I could tell from the sideline. It was apparent from the sideline.
I have never played against 4 players before. And when I do my playbook, I normally traditionally I'm a visual guy. Like I'm running this route because you're moving, and I know there's going to be a space there. When you're playing against 4 and you never know what one of the 4 is going to blitz, it was traditionally the same guy on the right-hand side all the time. Eventually worked it out. I was like, how the... And it took me a little while to kind of figure it out. Eventually we come out 27-13 winners, but the Bucks Wolves, if they had a full squad, they're doing damage. A couple of their guys are just, I think, I forget the guy's name, the GB Silver gentleman.
Callum.
Callum, he's a fantastic player. What an absolute baller.
Brilliant player.
So they could have certainly done some damage, but I think we eventually started to work it out, Bez. It just took me a little bit longer than usual. But we did indeed knock off another higher seed.
We did, in theory, knocked off the 5 seed as the 15. Yep. Who else came to play? The Sheffield Giants came to play. Didn't actually see that game at all against Leeds, but Leeds ran out in a tight one.
Sheffield, they seem to have a weird, can we just? There's probably one Sheffield thing I probably want to talk about. Obviously, they got beat 13-6 by Leeds in the round of 8, which is not ideal. But obviously, their game in the plate quarters.
Yes, we do need to come on to that.
Not really ending how anyone wants to see a game of flag ending. And I've been kind of looking through the internet to see if I could find any update. Do we know, have we got any update on the situation?
I don't know. So, yeah, obviously for those that weren't there, and this is a visual medium. Sorry, it's not a visual medium, it's an audio medium.
Audio medium.
At some point in their game against the Ravens, while going up for a ball, one of the Sheffield Giant players went to the ground at the back of the end zone, in the centre of Platt Lane, near one of the goalposts, and immediately signalled that something was not good. I think one of the Ravens players echoed that by saying, "I think I heard a crack." So it was full on. The physios were amazing. I didn't catch either of the names, but there was a pair of them. The guy was immediately down. hands either side of the head, keeping it steady. And having been in that situation before where you are the head holder, you're kind of like you're there for as long as it takes. Like, and that's exactly what he did, obviously. Like that was his role. He went down and he kind of, held the head, kept it in line. There was more tinfoil blankets than I think I'd seen in Manchester were placed over him because the other thing that I need to think, because we were watching Chargers.
It was Chargers game we were watching, wasn't it?
We were watching the Chargers and the Honey Badgers.
That's right, yeah.
At the time, I think.
Yeah.
And that was the teeth of the rain of the day. That
it was vicious.
The wettest. There were ducks complaining it was too wet.
Yeah. My mac and cheese got very moist.
The otters' pockets were full. Like it was too wet. It was minging. And yeah, there was guys, teammates down around him, brollies, foil blankets, jackets. At one point a gazebo was lifted.
I've seen that.
And put over them.
Good idea.
The ambulance arrived, and the player was taken away in the ambulance. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Obviously, hoping beyond everything else that they're okay, that they got to walk out of the hospital. Yeah, we'll see. If there is anyone from Sheffield who, if the player is comfortable letting us know how they're getting on, we'd just really appreciate it because
we're thinking of them, man, because that's not nice to see
horrible,
to anyone,
it was
teammates,
a
friends,
situation,
fellow sport participants. It's not nice something to see and kind of witness that kind of firsthand. It's not something you want to see. So,
and understandably, the Giants were done for the day.
That's
completely understandably. Like if that was one of our team, sorry lads. Like cool, continue your game. We're off. We're off. So yeah, hopefully they are. Hopefully they're recovering and recuperating well. So there was still football.
Yeah,
that continued.
VPP Borders, probably a good one. Good game.
Yeah, it was a good one. VPP Border City, I guess, pretty much knew that's the only going to get, barring a massive upset. They were always going to get VPP.
Yeah, VPP. That's again. I can't believe they're a wildcard team. Bez. That blows my mind that VPP are a wildcard team, but they're not. They're definitely not a wildcard team, but they were for this weekend.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Borders have come up against a very well-drilled, oiled, experienced machine.
Yeah. And VPP were excellent in that game as well. Serpents, they appeared, knocked out the Badgers. And yeah, that was the end of the round of 8 before the quarterfinal, which is where we met the Mustangs, the Blackhawks, the Wolves, and of course the Hammerheads. What? Yeah, okay. Waveney Wolves 37. Lancashire Serpents 25. Did not see this game. Unfortunately, I'm completely unable to talk about it.
Yep, I was playing. No idea.
Yeah, you were playing, and unfortunately, it was on the other side of the fence from where I was, over on pitch 5. But it was one of those things, like we said before, and we have been made to firmly eat hats. Weren't entirely sure how good Waveney were going to be because they'd lost a couple of games in their cross-conference, but they'd absolutely run their division, which makes it really hard to...
17-2?
17-2, and both of the games they lost were cross-conference, right? So I have no idea how good you are at this point. It's really, really difficult to tell. So yeah, they turned up, they met the West Lancashire Serpents and handled them.
Yeah,
beat them by 2 scores.
I played the Serpents this year. They were good. They were okay. I mean, they were not like Swansea good, but the Serpents were well established.
Yeah,
good.
6th seed, division winner. Yep. Waveney turned up, did exactly what they had to do with them, which is fantastic to see. VPP overturning the Blackhawks was an absolute game.
Yeah,
it was an absolute game. Running out a 1-score win, it's like VPP of old, isn't it? Like they
know what they're doing. They know how to play flag.
It's been a while since we've seen VPP at this stage, at this level, but they're playing very well.
Newcastle look good though. I got a chance to watch them a little bit throughout the weekend, and they did within themselves look very competent and kind of a lot of different faces as well, which was good. Like in regards to years gone by, so it was really interesting to see some new faces in there. Obviously, seeing Sass play is always good, and Phil and some of the usual mob, but
The usual suspects.
the usual dudes and dudettes. Yeah, Newcastle just come up short again in regards to the Division 1. I think they've come close to having runs in Div 1 a couple times now over the past few years. So, yeah, 26-19 Bez. It's still close. It's one score. I mean, you always take off if you're losing. You don't want to get blown out.
Try and keep it close.
Not at this stage, especially if you are a high seed. So it was a pretty close game.
It was. And obviously the Mustangs appeared the HNC champions. And they met the Leeds Samurai, who were also a wildcard team, finally put an end to their run with a 30-18 win for the Mustangs. In a game that was all right. Like it was a 2-score game basically. Like it was a 2-score game. It was close for a bit, but once the Mustangs were 9 points up, once they were the second score up, it didn't. That was it. Like
it was kind of game over at that point.
At no point did I think that Leeds looked like they could overturn that margin.
There was at least one I saw of Brendan not quite going the length of the field with a pass and play after, but I think he missed like 3-4 defenders, Bez, and like took them to the house. Like Brendan had a game from what I saw. Dude was playing well. But yeah, Leeds did not even to knock off Leeds, so Bez. That's nothing to like. I just want to put on your record because Leeds are a very well established team.
Oh, they are.
Experience. Kyle Taylor's just he's not anybody. There's a few other guys in there. Obviously, you got Sunshine playing as well. She's stellar.
Yeah, they were
down.
Player. They were down some.
They're down. So I think they're missing a couple of their key.
They were missing some of their
GB handball players. I think they were out this weekend. Was it GB handball? I think I read in their post. There were GB athletes of some kind.
Okay.
Any GB athlete is a better athlete than me. So, they were missing a couple of guys from the post that I saw them put out with their roster before the weekend. Please for the Mustangs. It was
men's and mixed netball.
Netball. There we go. I knew it was something. Thanks, Bez, for your as ever.
I got
skills on the tools. But yeah, I'm pleased for the Mustangs. It was good to obviously this will be their first trip to the playoffs. That was obviously their first game of the day. They'd be quite moist at that point because they've been with us from the beginning of the day, most of them. So to come in, my only advice I gave to Sam and the guys was, you want to be scrimmaging at least in the round of 8 at the same time. You don't go into that game cold. You get a decent warm-up, get stretched off, scrimmage between yourselves, and be in a position to turn up that game to play. Whether they listened or not, I don't know. But, this from prior experience of teams at this seeding, you don't want to come in cold. So I'm glad that they got that win under their belt because it must have felt good to kind of get back to winning ways. Playoff and relegation obviously didn't go their way as obviously they expected. So they obviously wanted to get a little bit get back into the winning ways before moving on to the semi-finals. So that was a good win for them.
Yes, and
what do we have to?
You could have set up a semi-final with the Mustangs.
I mean, it
was an option. It was an option.
It was an option. It was definitely on the cards in some hypothetical world.
If the bus from Swansea had got stuck in traffic or something like that.
Our run unfortunately did come to an end with a 54-13 butt whooping. From your a very good team from the Wales.
From the Wales.
Down south. Yeah.
Swansea Hammerheads.
Very impressive, Bez. Obviously, it's not the first time I've seen Harley and the guys play. I've played against them at Flagging New Year, Flagging Ironman. So kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. Defensively, very well drilled, quite orchestrated in regards to what they're running, what plays they're doing, their communication, positioning. Looked great. I never had any worries coming into the game that we could score on them. Definitely not. I think we're always in a position that we could. I felt confident enough that we could score against any team, and I've said that all year. But defensively, Bez, my lord, like Harley can just pass that ball with such ease and efficiency that it's so difficult to stop them. And we've had difficulties all year playing defense. Like that's not been. If you look back at our scores, we're losing out on scores. Here and there, we're not losing out by much, but the games that we are losing, it's passes over the top, it's getting beat deep, it's just little things where we could be improving upon, and they just fully took advantage of that. I'm going to save my favourite stat of Sunday till the end, though, Bez, if that's okay. I did tell you before the podcast that
You did.
I had a stat to tell you, but I can't tell you that stat till the end of the game.
I am looking forward to it. I'll be honest. I am looking forward to it.
It is a doozy, and it's one that will haunt Swansea Hammerhead forever. Well, it should do. It should do.
Okay.
But yes, we unfortunately went down 54-13, which ended our fairy tale run by knocking off two higher seeds,
2 higher seeds, yeah.
And we got to the number 1 seed. I think, honestly, it's hard to obviously say over a season, but I think we could have definitely, I think I could have beaten Waveney and the Mustangs. I think I would have put myself a lot more comfortable and confident playing those teams if we were just a slightly higher seed. If we didn't have such a shit start to the season. There's my little swear word for today. I'll get that out of the way. I think we could have probably done a bit better. But
someone mentioned that over the weekend, actually.
What's that?
I can't remember who it was, but someone said something about, like, do you pick your swears in advance? Like, do you know?
No, I've got no idea.
Like someone was like, where does the one swear come from? I think that's what it was. It was like, why do you only get one? Oh,
because it's like a 12A show, isn't it?
12A, yeah, 12A. You can have one.
We're allowed one.
So we have, so we bend the rules and we have one each. But yeah,
that's me done for the rest of the show now. So if something happens to Bez, I've got to politely go, oh yes,
oh dear, that was darn tootin' bad.
That was a bugger. That was a doozy. I'll get those ones.
The Hammerhead scoring 52 points on you.
Yeah.
Was
cool. Congratulations, Swansea.
54.
54, yeah.
Sorry.
There was at one point in the game I had a giggle to myself. I was like, there's 11 minutes left, Neil Henderson. Are you sure? You want to just keep it running a little bit, please?
You could just run this out.
It was a game played and fun. I mean, we got to the point, Bez, in the second half where we just rotated people in. I was playing receiver. Megan was in. We had Jimmy. We had Stevie Cliffin. All the receivers. Everyone was getting in, across the whole board. I was getting some shots on blitz. So the second half, we were just go have fun.
Run it out.
We've done our day. We got our 2 wins. We're happy. We couldn't care less. So we got as far as we felt as always necessary. So it was good. But it then led us on to a really tasty semi-final, which I got the pleasure of enjoying watching.
So, before we do that one, we're going to do Swansea and VPP. Because
you refed it, game. And I spoke to the Swansea guys after the game in the changing rooms before I left as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I got their perspective from the game too, from the changing room. So you'll be on field.
So I refereed that game, and it was a lovely game to referee. There was a couple of things where basically I had the kind of right, settle, let's not do that, or else I'll have to start throwing stuff. It was very much everybody gets. When I'm refereeing, I try and tell people if it's not egregious, it's listen, stop flinching when stop flinching when the quarterback says hut and go on the ball. There was a bit of kind of. There was a tackle made well out of bounds, but it was a diving tackle, but the player was already out, and there was a bit of right, you didn't touch him. There was no contact made, so it was fine, but let's just be careful with each other as we're going out of bounds. I think that happened within the first 2 minutes, and after that, it was lovely. The game played in very high spirits. I was on the VPP sideline. It was 55-0. Right, we're not making any bones about this. The Hammerheads were imperious the entire way through, and I was sorry, I'm gonna have to be explicit on this one now.
It makes me feel slightly better about my score if they're doing that to VPP.
They were very good, and there was a moment which it must have been in the second half because of the direction of the play. Eventual MVP of the day, Alex Thomas, made an absolutely outrageous one-hander. If and there's no contest that Kostas gets catch of the weekend, right? There's no contest. This one, had it been recorded, I already would have posted by now. It was so good. Yeah. It was so good.
Love stuff like that.
And to the point that the whole defense were just yeah, mate, fair play. Well done.
Cool.
Nice. It was one of them. As a defense, you're just Jesus, okay. If you're going to do that,
There was a few of them
6
in our
points.
game as well. Yeah,
Like-
we were just like, cool. If you're going to do that, sweet.
Yeah, so that was pretty remarkable from Alex. But yeah, it was one of those, like we were waiting for the second half to be, credit to VPP, they were scratching and clawing and doing everything they could. They never gave up. They were always trying to get points. Just didn't happen for them, unfortunately. I think that was for the day that they had, that was probably like a more brutal end than they really deserved.
I think so. From where they came from and where they got to.
But
they're tired as well. I mean, they've played, 4 games?
Yeah, right. And, as we've always said, like we've never had a wildcard team make the final, but like, that's a wildcard team going all the way, and they eventually won a bronze medal. So great, really good for them. So what that means though is I have no idea what happened,
dude.
In this game.
Oh my word, what a game! So obviously, it's obviously biased, HNC biased that Mustangs are part of our club. Obviously, the Mustangs were arguably offensively very poor. Now, the main reason, as you know, it was very wet. There was a lot of drop passes. I think Brendan himself would say this. From his perspective, it was very poor. He dropped so many passes. The Mustangs could have done better offensively. I think that what Sam was doing, I understand what he was trying to do, and I seen he was trying to move the ball progressively, Bez, but the passes they were making, compared to what my comments were about Nicky earlier, they weren't passes between 5 to 7 yards. These were passes between 7 to 20 yards. Really forcing that deep ball in the non-favourable conditions, and they weren't really moving the ball as well as what they could, or getting the runs necessarily that Brendan would get or Dan would get.
Okay.
Yubo under centre. So that it wasn't really a Mustangs offensive prowess that you've seen throughout the year. So to only score 14 points, that's not going to help the situation. Defensively, they done everything they did in their power to keep Waveney to 15, and it took Waveney till the last play of the game to win the game.
Oh, it did. Yeah, I saw that. I think I saw and I had no idea what was going on.
So Mustangs defensively done everything that they could. I just think Mustangs offensively in the weather conditions could have played things slightly differently. The offense, you would bring it back a little bit. Don't force those balls where you're catching it above your head, for example. You want to catch it when at least head to chest. So if it is slipping through, you've at least got something to kind of absorb the impact into, for example. There was too many passes where it was to the side, the ball would go through the hands, it would be above, and it would just fly through. Where they had no gloves on, never played with gloves on, there's no excuse, but they just didn't move the ball is what you want them to. So quite disappointing in that regard, but I mean, they kept in the game the whole way through against, obviously, Waveney. Last play of the game.
And they went for 2 to win it, right?
So they scored the touchdown.
Yeah.
And there was contact at the back, which then was
so it was 2 points from the 5-yard line.
2 points from the 5-yard line to win the game. And it was, in the end, a very simple extra point play over the top pass, uncontested, to win the game. There was obviously a mistake or play call or something was missed in the back of the end zone. And Waveney won on the 2-point conversion from the 5-yard line due to a contact penalty. I believe it was contact penalty to win 15-14 in the end. So
Mustangs semi-final score 14-15.
Unbelievable. Like the weather did not help, obviously, to any team throughout the day, other than Swansea apparently, who they just don't care. But definitely in this game, it was very influenced by the weather. There was one player on Waveney that I'll shout out. You know his name. The Chelly.
Aiden.
Yeah.
Aiden. Yeah.
Aiden, phenomenal. The dude was just like making plays all over the place, getting the ball moving for Waveney, progressing up the field nicely. The young quarterback, kept his head throughout most of the game, and at the end, obviously made the right decision making to give them the win in the end to progress to the final. So, yeah, fair play to Waveney. Obviously, it must be a successful season for those guys at 17-2, and now 2 wins to get them into the semi-final and into the final. And quite well deserved, to be honest. The game could have went either way. Obviously disappointing that our HNC team didn't make it again, but it was just very well contested game, but not ideal. Not the Mustangs performance that they'll be happy with. They'll be extremely disappointed that they didn't play how they had done throughout the season. I think if they did, and it was purely dry, normal game plan, I think the Mustangs could have scored at least 2 or 3 times more. But you play to the conditions. And both teams have to play to the same conditions. So it's just whoever got the best of it in that situation, which was Waveney.
on the day, I guess.
So not an ideal ending to the Mustangs season. Playoff and relegation and also playoffs, I don't think. They'll be quite disappointed.
They went on to play VPP in the bronze medal match and lost that one 34-21. Unfortunately, that was on at the same time as the Division 1 championship.
Oh, was it? I was away by this point. I had to get up the road. I was working.
So we stayed. There was a hardcore of us. Shout out to Scott and Heather and Liam, Nick and Andy, who I think were the only spectators left that weren't directly attached to one of the teams by the end of the day. It's pretty hardcore. We were eventually given the task of naming the MVP.
Oh, really?
Oh no, sorry. Coach Young and Claire were there as well. Alan and Claire were there as well.
Okay.
So yeah, they were there contesting as well to watch as well. But yeah, so we got the shout of, can you guys pick an MVP for us? Yeah, sure, no worries. And the final was interesting. I think a lot of us expected it to be kind of a stomp. Given
so. That's why I left. I thought Swansea's dominating this.
Right, and given, Swansea at that point through 2 games has scored 109 points. So I think there was preparation there for people to be like, this could get ugly. And it did when Waveney went up early and Swansea could not score. It was like 2 drives, where Swansea were unable to score. We're all kind of looking at each other being like, oh, hello. A long way to go, obviously, but interesting start.
Wasn't expecting this. Yeah.
And it went on longer than you would think. Like, it was Waveney up or tied for longer than you would think. In the second half, Harley started hitting Alex a bit more. He was superb. He took a couple of like 6 or 7 yard passes, 30 yards for score. 40 yards for a score, and like, yeah, okay, that's a 40-yard passing play, but that's it's a 35 yards after catch, which as a quarterback obviously you love, but he was excellent. He really took over the game for that offense. So yeah, when it came to make a pick, it was relatively easy for us. Hammerhead's defense tightened up a lot in the second half. And they did what they were done. And at the end of it, it was almost like a surprise when the whistle went. It was one of those, like, the whistle went, it was like, oh, is that it? Okay, it's done. Because you didn't really feel like Waveney were going to get back into it, which is unfortunate to say. But again, we said it earlier about the Hornets being front runners. The Swansea are also, they spent a lot of time front running, and they're very good at front running. And
should have been in the Prem this season. Arguably.
And we'll see that we will see them
themselves.
We will see them next year.
Yeah, but it should have been this year.
Yeah,
don't be disappointed about.
So yeah, that's another year of growth for them. It's another year of development for their players, though. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they get on in that division, which obviously has the Neptunes in it, has the Titans in it, has the Hurricanes in it. They'll get to play Reading and the Sharks and the London teams. So that South Conference is starting to fill up with high caliber teams, and
pretty juicy.
Like, looking forward to seeing how that all shakes out. But yeah, in the end, the Hammerheads, they did exactly what they said they wanted to do at the start of the season. They said they wanted to come back for one more time, get promoted, win that national championship at the third time of asking. They have done. And yeah, popular winners. Massive congratulations to them. Waveney are obviously going to get another shot at it next year. Because they didn't get out of their promotion playoff. Obviously, the Mustangs didn't get out of their promotion playoff, so they'll be back again next year.
Serpents as well, I think.
Serpents will be around. So yeah, there's a lot of those kind of good teams that are still going to be around. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And to end the segment, what's your stat?
And it's going to haunt Swansea forever. Do you know who was the most successful offensive player with scores against Swansea in this year's Bafa NFFL 2024 finals?
Who scored the most points against them?
Mhm.
Jimmy Thompson. It wasn't you.
Indeed, it was. All 13 of them. This guy.
That's outrageous.
There you go. That'll haunt them.
All of the talent in that division.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's bloody red mist at the back of the end zone.
Red mist at the back of the end zone twice. I got one at the back, caught it over the top of the guy. Then I got the extra point, and then I got a touchdown right in front of a guy. Guy was peeling over the back of me, still caught and held on to it. All 13 points were accrued by Tree against Swansea, which made me the most successful player against the Swansea Hammerheads. So if anyone would like any advice of how to beat Swansea Hammerheads as a receiver, this 6'4" dad bod has got your back. There's my stat of the weekend, mate. Dreadful, but I'll take it.
There we go.
We also finished 7th, so out of the year after starting 0-3. So
You did.
I'll take that as well.
You did. 0-3 to 7th place. Pretty good. And also, it's one of those things. You were the 15th seed, right? So coming 14th would have been good, right? Because
exactly.
you can improve,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, getting 15 to 7. That's a pretty.
With definitely the highest average aged club or team in the nation by a mile.
Oh, it's gotta be.
Has to be.
And there's a couple of you lot dragging it.
Oh,
north.
like your Jimmys and your Stevie Cliffs and your Duffys, like Michelle, Stevie Granger, Neely. Yeah, you're pushing like an average age of like 40 for our team. It's probably guys like Megan that's pulling it down a little bit. So
there you go. Experience.
Yeah,
Experience counts.
Experience pays.
Yeah, and at the end of it, one hell of a weekend. Like one hell of a weekend. It really was. There's probably plenty more to talk about. There's probably plenty more storylines that we missed. Thankfully, we've got an off season to talk about it, but we just don't.
I think Winter League's round the corner.
Women's Flag Football League is coming. Winter League is coming. There's obviously off season tournaments. We've got a whole bunch of World Championship stuff to cover. You and I have barely spoken really since at least not in
really
person
had a chance. No.
since the World. So there's plenty more World stuff to come.
Got player retirements that are in group chats right now.
Oh my God,
that we can talk about in the future. There's things like that. So all sorts of news happening.
However, well, maybe you do a show next week. I'm on holiday next week, and
we're taking a break.
We're gonna take 1 week off. Tree and I are gonna take a whole week off. So the socials might be a little bit quiet. There will definitely be no show next week.
I've got some videos and stuff to use.
Well, maybe schedule some things.
Yeah, I've got a Gary heel up.
Oh, that's already in the drafts.
Catch.
Don't worry.
Is it in the drafts? Hey, if people have got that to look forward to, then
that's
happy
already.
Days.
Yeah, the calf raises are already in the drafts.
Look out for those calves, boys and girls. They're.
But yeah, looking forward to it. So there's plenty more flag football to come. But we will end this bumper mega flag football weekend show just there.
Longer than usual. That's all.
It was a longer weekend than usual. So yeah. So thank you very much, Tree.
You're very welcome, my friend. Thank you very much to you too. It's lovely to spend the weekend with you.
It was indeed. It was good to see you. And that's it from the Way We HNC It. Thank you to everyone who did come and say hello over the weekend. We don't just say it for fun. And it was very nice to have everyone come in and say hello.
It was lovely, weren't it? There were some people, Tree, how are you getting on, man? It's the scene. It was so nice. It's like people just come to say hi to us. It was, I second that bit. That was lovely.
It's always great to see everyone, and the community really is amazing. And we're incredibly grateful to all of the support that you show us, all of the lovely comments about kind of the worlds, and a lot of the kudos there obviously is extended to Andy as well with his images, which are still bleeding out. So if you're not following him, he's Andy Keith Photo on Instagram. You can grab us in the Way We HNC It Flag Football, and we will see you around. But for the Bafa National Flag Football League season 2024, that is the Way We HNC It.